Hello, everybody. My name is Alexey Gavrilov, and today I'm with Betsy.
I'm Betsy DiMatteo.
And we're going to talk about something that I was procrastinating, and I don't know why that I was
You're nervous.
nervous about this topic.
Dun dun dun.
Because I don't want to be too gloomy and dark about, but this I think very important topic to talk about, and it can be actually very positive and empowering for the buyers.
Yes.
Okay, and we're going to talk about fun and exciting topic: inspections.
Home inspections. So, first of all, what is a home inspection?
Oh my God, this is a...
That's actually a hard question because it can be many different things. So, I guess what we'll start with is you would do a home inspection when you submit your offer. You would be including any contingencies that are based on inspection. So, there are contingencies in an offer to purchase. And then the home inspection box is generally an overall home inspection by a licensed home inspector. We also require, usually when we are the listing agent, you require to know who that person is so that you can make sure it's not somebody's random uncle that's doing the work, that it's a licensed insured person. So when they go to test everything, if something gets broken, their insurance covers that. But they're going to inspect the general house. And then generally we see with a basic home inspection package that includes radon in Connecticut, and what else? That's kind of it. There may be a pest person that comes with certain companies, or they're looking for signs of pests, but that would be that one basic box.
Right.
But then it gets more complicated, right? So you've had some fun experiences
I had some
lately.
fun experiences
With the other box checks. So what are those?
I mean, the fun that I had the most with septic.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if during COVID, when people were moving from the city, they were even maybe aware of conditions of the house that they were just buying.
Oh, yeah, there was no contingencies. You had to just take it as is to win.
Or asking.
Yeah.
And now when they're trying to sell, they don't even know the conditions of their septic.
Right.
Where was the septic and leaching fields are. And that's where...
That's a really good point, though, because a lot of times in a home inspection, I find the buyer's fear is, I'm going to find something out and the seller's going to be angry. Mm-hmm. Or the seller's hiding something and we're trying to see what they're hiding. And I don't find that's the case. I find a lot of times it's that people they didn't know how to take care of their house. They were unaware of something. And often when you tell them that something is wrong or what the condition is, they are happy to resolve it because they know that if you don't buy the house, they have to resolve it anyway with someone else. So it's not we're going to find all the things and rat you out. Right. It's, let's do the education process about the house and the septic.
And I think that's the healthy relationship with the listing agent if we're representing buyers, where we actually not... objecting anything. We're just trying to work together.
It's literally gathering information.
And that's why sometimes maybe even when we present seller, we could advise them to also do pre-listing inspection, that they're also aware of what's going on. If they live there for, let's say, over 10, 15 years, they might not even aware.
So the last house I sold where the people had lived there 44 years, they did a home inspection for their own knowledge just for that reason. We did not release that report because they were able to fix and repair and address things. And then there was one or two things that we decided to leave so that the home inspector would find something small. It's not like you're obligated to fix or repair anything as a seller. It's an information gathering process, and the buyer, because it's a contingency, they have a right to walk away after gathering that information. So
right, except I think the oil tank, underground oil tank,
sellers don't have to repair.
They don't have to repair, but some maybe banks might not.
Right.
Finance.
So that's the other thing is that certain things, if the house is deemed uninhabitable, meaning that the toilets don't work and the kitchen is not functional, there was the gas not hooked up properly and it legally had to be disconnected and now there's no way to use a stove or to use a bathroom, then you're going to have a problem with your mortgage. We don't deal with it as much in our high-end area, but like if you're getting an FHA loan, there's very specific FHA rules about like railing height on a deck and, you know, certain things. There cannot be like any asbestos tiles, but otherwise you can sell a house in any condition. And a house can be sold with no kitchen and no bathroom. It's just the financing part. So the buyer has to sort of know what they're doing and what they're getting into. Let's go back and talk about septic again. So can I just share what happens at the septic inspection?
Sure,
okay.
Sure.
So if you've grown up in the city or like a new construction area where there's like sewer, you really kind of like weirded out about the septic situation. Septic tanks have existed for like thousands of years. People have made, I mean, the original septic tank we call a cesspool in the colonial days. And it's just a hole in the ground that a pipe goes to, and the ground titrates the liquids and the solids accumulate, and that's it. And then the septic tank is where that is a tank, and there's many designs and they've changed over years, and the sanitation department in every town has requirements and rules as to what an existing septic can be and what a new septic can be. But the general idea is you have a tank, and then you have an area where the liquids may go, and those are called the fields, and that can be any number of like piping and situation. If a problem happens with the septic and it has to be taken out and moved, it would go to a different location due to what happens to the soil in the fields. And so one of the concerns we deal with is if you are trying to do anything to the septic, make it bigger, to get the sanitation permit with the town, there has to be an alternate location available for the septic. And we run into more problems with the alternate location not being sufficient and therefore changes can't be made than I do actually having like the septic has a problem.
Yes.
It
like could be wetland or
right, wetlands. So you can't have your leaching fields inside protected wetlands, which in Connecticut are a really big deal because wetlands are the ecosystem that supports our forest and our trees, and that's why they're protected. So when you do the septic inspection, a licensed and insured septic company will come out and they will locate the septic. They use the map from town hall. They go to the sanitation department. If there's no map, they still find it. Yeah, and they take their best guess from looking at the house and going in the basement or the inside, and then they use like a rod to locate it until they hit it, and then they dig in the ground and find the cover. They lift the cover, they look in, they use like a mirror on a stick.
Or camera.
They can use a camera, but like they first look in there to look for stuff. And the benefit of if you are really organized, you will ask, when is the last time the septic was pumped? The ideal situation is to have the septic pumped prior to the inspection so that the entire tank, as low as possible, can be seen. And so they're looking to see if the tank is cracked, if the tank is there, if the tank has a cover, is it to code?
The size, if they can
verify the size. Like sometimes there's no documentation. If a house has been owned for 75 years and someone put the septic in 1960.
And it can be in perfect conditions also.
Right.
I mean, like in working condition, maybe not perfect, but working condition, and it can maybe last for another 70 years. But at least having knowledge.
And then they go check the fields with like a pole and they look how the water is coming. And in some cases, they actually put water in the tank and flush it out to see where it's going. But it's not a scary process. It doesn't take that long. It gives you good information. And the key is you are gathering information as a buyer to determine big ticket items. Big ticket items are what you're looking for on the inspection. Things that the seller may or may not have known about and things you did not know about. So if a septic needs to be replaced, it's a process. It takes time. You may not be able to move into the house and use the toilet for weeks if you're getting approval from the town. And it could be 20, 40, 60,000, depending what the solution is.
Yes.
So that's a big ticket item. If it's just a tank,
maybe that's one
20,000.
Yes, but if it's leaching fields
or the entire
redesign of re-engineering, and all of that can be pretty costly.
Right. So it's a good idea to know. Okay, let's talk crazy stories. One time I had a house for sale and they found 2 septics.
Huh. Wait, it wasn't your mom's?
It was my mom's house.
Because she told me, yeah. That's
But I didn't. I was working with the buyers, and the septic guy was like, "What?" But one of them was on the map and one was not. But we knew where it was in that case. So, and what they had done is they had basically one was end of life, so they added another system when they expanded the house at some point, and both systems were fully functional. Arguably, the older system was actually in better shape.
Really?
So, yeah, crazy things. But
I mean,
what happened on your latest septic drama?
But I mean, this was maybe not as dramatic because it still unfolds.
Okay.
But the latest one that was in last summer, where the septic inspector just come like 5 minutes, he didn't even open the septic tank. He was just checking leaching field, and there were already, he noticed like the sign of contamination, or like it was so moist, or and he said like, they look at the grass is like much greener.
Yeah.
Like
so it was leaking. The tank was leaking.
The tank was leaking, leaching fields were full, like it was just, I was like, not even 5 minutes into the inspection.
Wow.
That was like very scary, to even knowing that somebody lives in the house where the backyard is.
Right. But the thing is, it's scary because you don't know. And it's scary because it's going to take time to get an answer. And that's annoying in a high stress situation, that you're under the gun. You have a septic deadline. Like, you're there on a Saturday. The septic deadline, the inspection deadline's Monday. And you have to tell the seller yes or no by Monday. And if you don't, you're going to lose the house. And then you don't have all the information you need. So that's the nail biting part.
Because at the end of the day, everything can be fixed.
Anything can be done for a cost. That's
exactly.
what I always say.
It's just a matter of like, you're willing to deal with this, and how much would it cost you. But yeah, pretty much. I don't think so. There was a situation where it's impossible. It's just, is a buyer willing to, or seller willing to negotiate in that? Yeah, I think the other thing that besides septic, I think if we're done with septic, I think enough poop talks.
Sorry. It is one thing we get a lot of questions about, which is why you didn't want to have this conversation, but we get a lot of questions about septic because it's something that's sort of like an unknown to people.
Right. Oh, and I love in septic inspectors. They love talking about poop and how to, and they will actually educate the clients too about how to take care of the.
Right. Don't ever flush anything.
Yes.
Except for septic approved toilet paper. Right. That's your hot tip of the day.
Yeah, they would actually educate. I think it's important for a buyer also to be present, to know that it's not sewer and.
No. I had one house where the ex-husband had poured bacon down the sink almost every day for 20 years. And it ruined the septic, and it had a layer of fat on top, which is terrible for the enzymes in the septic. And that was that's one of those things where the people were ruining it.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with the tank, but that required a major clean out situation, and it had overflowed. It was, but weird also, things.
Yeah,
you got to know how to take care of it. You basically pump it every 2 years. You do nothing. If you take care of it and you just don't flush stuff down, you're good to go.
And it's self-sustained.
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing. All right.
What's your next box check on the home inspection?
I love underground oil tanks.
Okay, let's talk about underground oil tanks. What is an underground oil tank?
And I don't know. Tell me if that's myth or not, because on one of my inspection, I had this educational experience where inspector told me that the reason why in 60s, the house that we were inspecting wasn't built in 1950s, and we found it oil tank above the ground. And, we were discussing, is there a potential that there's underground too? And of course, you will hire a special company who will make sure that there's...
They metal detect the ground to find any unknown abandoned oil tanks.
If town doesn't have a record, or for example, or fire marshal doesn't have a record of underground tank to be removed. But an interesting fact that he told me, the reason why people were burying tanks because of the oil crisis in 1970s.
Yeah.
They were buying the oil during the winter or summer, whenever it was cheaper, right, at that time. they're filling them that they can use during the winter. And I was like, wow, I thought it was for safety, but no, actually it's one of the reasons why
I think also if people don't like using the space in their basement, so the idea is like you can keep it outside or and underground. But we should just say you cannot install an oil tank underground anymore.
you can.
You have to like have no other option or something, I think.
There was actually, again, by the same inspector.
Okay, what did he say?
Who educated me that there's no reinforcement, that there's even like in Greenwich, one of the house, the buyer insists to put the underground oil tank. They did it. I guess they did a lot more. Maybe
like a double tank with a bathtub holding.
But as we know, it's like it's a hazard, right? In terms of like if there's a leak, you don't want to be environmental protection department to be involved with like.
Also, if you have an underground oil tank that leaks on your property, you were required by law to have the cleanup done in a certain way. And let me just tell you, those certified companies are full price.
Yes.
There's no way to cut the cost on that. It is what it is. And if it goes into a waterway, you have to clean downstream from the waterway. So it's one of those things that like most people prefer that the oil tank is not underground, especially an old oil tank that might be nearing end of life.
Right.
So, but they just dig it out and cut it off and dispose of the oil in the tank properly.
But it also has to be done with fire marshal.
Yeah, right? And when they take the tank out, they're required to do soil samples of the area surrounding the tank until it's clear and no oil is found if it did leak, because that's what you're taking the contaminated soil out of the environment. So,
but again, it's nothing to be afraid of.
No.
It's just to be aware, to be educated, and just check. And maybe you will find a house with solar panels and new construction. You don't need to worry about. But again,
but I don't think most sellers, like when I've found an underground oil tank, like the seller didn't know, because if they knew, they would have taken care of it.
Right.
Generally, that's kind of how I look at it. So you're really looking for unknowns.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's always an interesting.
That's always interesting. It's between septic and the oil tank.
Yeah.
That's
the other one that has given me some trouble is well inspection.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So also one of those things that if you grew up in an area where you had town water, city water, you don't understand the well thing. We are the granite state. So anyone that has a water source likely has stone near their well, which is a whole nother complication. And sometimes it's drilled through the rock down to where the water aquifer water table is. So well inspection is one of those things you can check off. If you are not sure what's going on at the house, or during your showing, you turn on the faucet and there's like a clear water problem, color water problem, force, like the shower dribbles out in more than one bathroom, then you need to have a well inspection. So they look down the well with a camera, and that could be 75 feet or 400 feet down. They check the flow, they measure all these things. And generally, the solutions for well problems are not, the well needs to be abandoned and you have to drill a new well. It's that you get a water tank in the garage or something, and that adds pressure through a system, or it needs to be filtered, or the well is pulling up dirt, so they have to dig deeper. So there's fixes that are not insane. And actually, well solutions that I've dealt with on inspections were cheaper than septic problems. Like tanks for pressure is like $4,000 or $5,000. And if you're buying $1 million, $2 million house, that's not a big ticket. It's a big ticket item because you can't be in a house that has bad water, or you take a horrible shower every day for that price. But it's not like a roof cost or septic cost or something. Yeah, or windows. Oh my gosh.
Right.
So
the other thing that I think for people to be aware is, the house is built prior to 1978. Like, we have to have a disclosure about the lead disclosure, lead paint disclosure, and because the lead was used in paint, right, and it was more expensive and it was more.
It was a luxury product. Yeah.
In most of the houses that were built in this area, they used lead paint. Yeah. Again, something just to be aware and to be educated, especially with the kids. With them.
Right. But I would say also, like, It's not a problem to have lead paint on the outside of your house. It's a problem on like an interior window ledge with small children. And that can be like worst case scenario, you can rip all the wood off and replace it.
Yeah.
So again, like what you're comfortable with, what your costs you're expecting, there's solutions for all of that.
Even radon, right?
Right.
Like if it's elevated, you can install the system.
Right. And a lot of the radon companies, this is something I always talk to buyers about, they guarantee their system because they don't exactly know how much airflow they have to do. Let's back up for a second. Radon is an odorless gas that exists in rock layers, and because we're the granite state, there is radon in Connecticut. There's radon in Europe. There's radon all over the United States. It's one of those things. The radon levels change naturally.
Even seasonality.
Yeah, raining.
Winter versus summer.
Right.
You open the windows and people think like, oh, if you open the windows, will be less. No, it's actually more because it's
sucking it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that if you slept in a basement with a high radon level for 20 years, there's a chance that it could have a negative effect. But it's not like you're exposed to radon gas for 5 minutes. It's not going to do anything to you. It's long-term exposure that's the concern. However, people want to be safe and we know about it and there's a solution. So like a radon system is like $1,200. Mm-hmm. Again, that is not windows and a roof cost. That is not, I need to add a 5th bedroom to the house. That's relatively inexpensive for $1 million+ house.
Right.
And so what I was saying was they guarantee that they'll reduce the level. Mm-hmm. So when they put a system in, they will then test again. And the test you have to do like over a period of time. It's not an instant test. They do the average over a period of time. If it's not good enough, then they increase the system or they add a secondary system. So it's a solvable problem.
And you can always install the app that tracks,
the
system that you can track what's the level.
You can get a radon thing
Monitor,
that continuous monitor, and it shows you like on your app, just like your thermostat you're monitoring.
Yeah, it's everything is doable, right? And fixable. It's just a matter of price or what's your comfort level.
Yes.
Right, and I think mold, the same thing, right?
Right.
The mold
that I've dealt with is usually like in a centralized area, like a leak in the roof that molded the back of the plywood, or I had a laundry room in a hallway that leaked really bad and it molded the whole wall behind and no one could tell because there were cabinets. So once that was found during the inspection, obviously the seller was like, gross, I want to get rid of that. Right. And they ripped out all that stuff themselves. And they basically rip out any materials that are contaminated or they spray and kill the mold and that's it. If it's like the whole house, there's a whole system of I think is it reverse osmosis and all that? Mm-hmm. And you have to get a mitigation company.
Yes.
But, one other one this is not a box check, but something that I've seen. Signs of previous fire
or flood.
Yeah. So actually, the house my dad bought when we were in the basement, these people were like type A, everything done on the house, like list of service people. And we were like, great, this is going to be a breeze. We got down there and there was a sign that something had sparked in the basement on a wire. It was like either the security system or the dog fence or something had started a fire, burned all this area, and extinguished itself. So when we found it, they were like, oh my God, I had no idea. And, we checked all the electrical, disconnected the dog fence and had it rechecked. But again, you're just looking for odd things.
Yes. With the flood, if let's say current owner was not aware, maybe the purchase and previous owner didn't disclose or for whatever reasons, right? There are certain services you can hire to find out about, even to see if there was ever claim on a flood.
Right, we've talked about that.
Right.
You can have an insurance agent run the house in the database.
And see if there was ever flood.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think, did we cover all?
It's interesting that we have a lot of houses that are over 100 years old around here. There's no way that any one person can know the full history of that property. It's longer than a lifetime. So a lot of times you're just taking your best guesses and you're looking for a house that has good bones, good layout, and has been generally taken care of, unless you're doing a flip, but that's a whole nother thing. But like generally,
then why would you do inspection if you do flip?
Yeah,
just
you already it's a whole nother bag of.
Assume that there's is like a
So I think generally you're looking for like, taking care of, regular maintenance was done, and like the roof was repaired within a time frame, because you don't want to end up, the thing that kills people when they buy a house, especially first time home buyers, is having to do everything at the same time. Right? If you have a house that was taken care of, you're like, okay, I've got 8 years on the roof. Okay, well, they did the 4 front windows that were the worst, and now I can work on the next ones that are going to happen. Right. But if someone abandons everything and they didn't do their roof, they didn't paint regularly, so now there's wood rot, they didn't do any of the bad windows, they didn't take care of, like the sump pump is outdated, the water doesn't have a filter on it, like you add up the $2,000 for every one of those 10 things, and now you've been like, you spend $20,000 on nothing you can see.
Right. I mean, even roof, right? It's a big ticket item.
Right.
So one of them, I would say, would be one of the most important. But again, just depending on what the age of the roof and
the roof inspection. Roof inspection is part of the home inspection. There are cases where we do bring in a roofer and we ask during the home inspection process to bring a roof specialist. In particular, like if it's a flat roof, a membrane roof, slate, very intricate cedar. I've had some strange houses where, the roofing expert really needed to be there because the home inspector's not a roofer. They're just looking for approximate age. They're going up on the roof and taking pictures.
Or they're taking drones.
But then a drone, yeah. And then sometimes those pictures we send to the roofer, and the roofer's going to have to come anyway to determine.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's flashing, chimney work. Those are the more complicated things.
Have you seen where there's 2 or 3 layers of roofs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't aware either that there can be a case
that's a America only thing.
Yeah. When people try to save the money instead of replacing, they would just put
Right.
another layer.
I've seen like 4 or 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought 3 is the max.
People just do whatever they want sometimes. So, and that's not a big deal because like when the roof gets redone, the thing is they're going to rip it all off. The only unknown in that situation is once they rip off all the roofs, you don't know the condition of the plywood and the wood underneath. So you may have an additional expense. But if it has 5 layers on it, it's usually pretty good.
As long as the bones can.
Yeah, and you can also look in the attic or underneath the roof, however that is, crawl space or attic, and you can get a sense of like, is it rotten and leaking or does the wood look completely dry? Because the plywood adds up. If you have to replace all of that plywood for your actual roof base at, I don't know how much plywood is now. It's like over 75 a sheet, 100, I don't know. Times however many, that's a lot. So,
right. I mean,
but I've had cases where like someone wouldn't close because the seller didn't repair the 6 roof tiles, like not tiles, shingles. 6 literal shingles they promised to repair. And we got to the closing and they hadn't done it. They said they didn't. And then the buyer stood there and was like, I'm not going. They said they were going to do it. And
did you close an escrow or something? No?
The lawyers had to work out a credit, but everyone was just mad about it.
Yes.
Because they were like, it's 6 tiles, who cares? And this buyer's like, you said you were going to do it.
I know.
It was like $230 of work.
Yes. I think at those moments, I think it's important to navigate sellers or buyers is what is important for them. And also, attorney get involved. It can get a little messy, but I think, again, everything is doable.
Totally. Yeah.
Yes.
But you don't want to hold up a closing over that.
No. That was my experience where sellers left bar stools for the buyers thinking that they were in really good conditions. They thought it would be a nice sort of a touch just to leave it. And the buyers wouldn't close it until those chairs were removed. I had to personally go to the house.
It's crazy.
Remove those chairs, put a sign that it's free to take on the lawn. An hour later, it was gone. And I'm like, yeah, we closed it, of course.
Yeah.
But it was like, this was not even a big deal in terms of like anybody could have done this.
I've had
and
to
the seller
take stuff out of the house
yeah.
so many times.
And the seller did this not to because they wanted to live in.
Their intentions were
The
good.
intention was good. Just
Yeah.
to like, listen, you know, you move into
Right.
your house, maybe you would, if you don't need it, you can do the same thing what I did.
Right.
Just put it on the front lawn and somebody will take it. But no, the little attorney said like, is anybody can go there and remove because they will not close it until those.
Crazy.
It's not an inspection topic, but we just.
But sometimes it is an inspection thing. Oh, like another part of the inspection that I always say to people is like, while you're there for your home inspection, it's a great time to shoot a video of the interior condition of the house, because when you go to your walkthrough and
Yes.
things are missing, or
Or
like
they look different because
somebody removed all the towel bars,
Yeah.
which should have been left, or, you know, like,
Oh, it could look different because when they start moving the furniture, something could break,
Right.
Or the space can look absolutely different.
Right.
Like, it happened to me when the buyers were working, and it's like, wow, it looks so different.
yeah. Or they lift up the dining room rug and the entire wood floor is ruined underneath the table, which during your home inspection, you can't really like fully,
Yes, because
you can't like move all the furniture
they
and
can
see
only
everything.
do what they can access to without
Right.
damaging, or
Right.
everything has to be replaced. Or
Yeah.
Yes, I think we covered the most of it, right?
Yeah, those are the major things. I mean, the whole idea is you don't want to go crazy box checking all these things that you need
Would
to
you
check.
discourage people from, let's say, would you encourage them to wait the inspection? Or,
I'm never going to change somebody's comfort level, but what I'm going to do is say, if you check off that you are going to check for lead paint and all of these environmental things, the seller could say no to your offer.
Right. Because they may have a better or
They
different,
might have
different offer.
Yeah,
like
and
this.
they don't want to take their time saying yes to you and lose other people and go down this road and it's a week later and you walk away.
Yeah, especially in
like,
this market.
They feel, I mean, a lot of times people waive the inspection. So like an offer that has no contingency for an inspection and an offer that has 8 contingencies for different inspections,
They're different.
they're different offers. So, you know, if you want to test the water and you're very concerned about a certain issue, or you like your family had a fire and it's super important to you to like inspect the electrical, do it. You need to be comfortable. You need to buy a house that you feel good about.
Right.
But getting there to the point where you can inspect and your offer is accepted is a process. So
Right. The
yeah.
same thing. I wouldn't discourage or encourage anybody to do whatever they don't feel comfortable doing it.
Right.
They just have to they have to have knowledge of what's the consequence of putting too much,
Right.
or not having enough
Right.
things to be inspected too.
And I don't think you want to check just home inspection and then come back to the seller and say, oh, well, now I need to do these like septic well, whatever, air quality. Yeah, like you kind of want to do it from the beginning and be disclosing what your intentions are. And
Yes.
I encourage people to get it all done fairly quickly,
because
as quick as possible.
it's good for both, for sellers and buyers.
Right.
As
And
soon
then
as-
they know, and you can move past that contingency. So.
Right. Or if they need when it need to be resolved, you still have time to.
Right. So, I mean, it's not a scary thing. It's just
It's not.
it's a process, and it's like a lot of unknowns and a lot of back and forth. But this comes back to what you said before. It's really important to have a good relationship. Like if I'm representing a buyer who's going into a first home inspection they've ever done, I have a really good understanding of the seller's agent, and the seller's agent has conveyed to me the risk analysis, and like I ask them, like, are they willing to do they have the means to do any repairs? Do they have the means to offer any monetary credits? Because that's important to know when you're going to the inspection. So it's about managing the situation so everyone is a win-win and that their expectations are met and that people aren't like disappointed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's why you need an agent. You can't just work with the seller's agent. When you do that and you go for your inspection,
They work for the seller.
they work for the seller.
Right. They can only disclose what they must disclose by the
Yeah.
law, but there are certain things they not aware,
And you need to be represented so you can have someone finesse what you are trying to accomplish, whether that's money credits, repairs, timeline changes, whatever the solution from the inspection issues is. So that's why you need to have a really good real estate agent expert that helps you through that process, because we've seen some crazy stuff. Oh, I gotta stick in one story.
Yeah.
Can I talk about my squirrel?
Yes. But
Okay.
That, and also, I think for the buyers, it's important to be prepared for inspection, because the inspector is not trying to discourage you from buying the house unless it's like really
Right.
But they will always find something, and it's their job.
Right.
Sometimes I notice that the buyers will be like, "Oh, this house has so many problems because the inspector find it." I'm like, "That's their job. It's now your
right." Also, if you went and plugged a lamp into every single outlet in your house, I guarantee one of them doesn't work.
I mean,
he's going to check every bathroom, every outlet, every window opens and closed for safety and to see if it works. The attic, the basement, the outside. They run the dishwasher. Right. They run the washing machine if it's included in the sale. So,
even like,
nobody's house is perfect.
Exactly. Even inspectors that I work with recently, they said like even new construction fail in inspection too.
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
Because the new construction has like stuff that when you live in a house, you sort of flush out if a house has been there 100 years,
it's there.
Yeah, it's there and stuff works. If it's nobody's lived in that house, you don't know what's wrong.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's like, it doesn't matter what price point you're looking into. It doesn't matter if it's old or new. The problems could be there, right? It's just how comfortable you are with dealing with this. Okay, squirrel story.
Okay, the craziest thing I've ever seen in an inspection. We arrived and there was a squirrel who was stuck in the house who tried to chew his way out of the house. Every single door, window trim, the walls were scratched. And then at some point, the squirrel injured itself and then bled all over the inside of the house. The sellers had to literally call a carpenter in and get every single window casing and trim replaced. It couldn't be sanded down. And they had to repair like 4 walls of drywall. Also, I have an irrational fear of squirrels. So that is the worst thing I have ever found on an inspection. It was terrorizing for me. I will never forget it.
How
horrible.
Is the squirrel was okay? Was it like?
I think he spent 2 days trying to get out and didn't make it. So, but it was repaired is the point.
Okay.
And that was during a walkthrough, actually, not an inspection. But it was repaired. It was fine. Everything is replaceable. Anything
Squirrel
can be.
was buried.
We won't.
Cremated.
We won't think about him. I've also had a squirrel inside a flue. Like they opened the flue and a dead squirrel came out. So that's my nightmare. But the whole thing is that my nightmare might not be somebody else's nightmare. So whatever your deepest fear is, I will help make sure that we resolve that at your inspection.
Yeah, I will go to this.
I have a squirrel cover on my own chimney so that it will never happen at my house.
Yeah. All right. I think it wasn't as scary, and I think we covered a lot. But if you have any other topics that you want us to cover, please feel free to comment or send us email.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to, uncover those topics.
Yep. And if
nothing scary.
If you would like to work with us as a buyer, we go through this whole process and talk about inspections and the forms and things like that prior to the inspection. So we can do a buyer consultation if you're interested. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.